This is Crime in the Coconut, episode
8.
Yeah, it should be 8, I think.
We should start writing that down.
Yeah, probably. We have our coconuts here. We're going to clink them.
And I'm going to burp off mic.
Burp in mic. What are you doing?
Mic, I know that. Next time I got a big one, I'll just all over the mic.
Nobody likes the way I burp because I burp like a goat. And
That's awesome.
It's like this weird sound and nobody likes it. And everyone makes fun for it.
That's good.
So, it's my turn this week.
And what's your name?
Oh, sorry. I'm Amanda.
I'm Ashley.
This is Crime in the Coconut. Sorry, we were talking about ghosts right before this, and
we're really off topic now.
Yeah, my mind is on a different plane of existence right now.
Yeah, it's with the spirits.
But just full of foreshadowing during the month of Halloween.
Ooh.
Our specific episodes are going to be more about supernatural things and everything like that. Yeah. So
it's gonna be good.
I'm excited for that.
I am excited.
It sucks
I'm always excited for Halloween, but
it sucks that it's only March.
Get rid of Valentine's Day and make winter Halloween.
I wouldn't mind that. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind. People like spooky stuff more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
This week, I am doing my story on a 18-year-old Joshua Maddux.
I've never heard of this ever.
This is also in Colorado.
She's about to go to Colorado, so I think that's why she's doing these Colorado cases.
It's not on purpose. They're just always in Colorado. This one was a little different because a lot of my sources come from Wikipedia. Mm-hmm. A lot of the information from this came from Reddit.
I love Reddit.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of my information came from Reddit, but I had heard a little bit of the story on a random-ass YouTube video about, top 5 unique, mysterious
when you end mysteries. Up in that dark hole.
It's the dark hole. Yeah. And they always have, the little, thumbnails of, inverted photo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I remember hearing of it, and ever since I heard of it, I was like, I cannot stop thinking, I still have these on, I cannot stop thinking about this case.
Mm-hmm.
I originally wasn't going to do it, but I simply had to, because I thought it was so damn interesting.
Yeah.
And then the biggest part I thought was interesting is that everyone's just cool and okay with saying that this was accidental. Except for the one guy who made the Reddit post.
Except for the one Reddit guy. Reddit sleuths. Not a force to be reckoned with.
The guy who made the Reddit post actually knew Josh.
Ah, okay.
So he knew all this inside stuff and was like, why the fuck aren't they investigating this?
Ooh.
Yeah.
This is a good one.
Yes. Okay.
I'm ready.
The last day Josh was seen was on May 8th, 2008. His sister had said that Josh claimed he was going for a walk, which wasn't very strange or unusual. He typically did that. But this time he never returned. And his parents reported him missing a few days later. At first I was like, a few days? Come on. But he's 18. Sometimes they go to friends' houses and they, ignore that stuff. So Josh was a very creative and intelligent kid and was very well known at his school. I don't know if he was exactly popular because, a lot of the articles I read, it was we had the nerdy kid in school and everyone's like, oh, they were so nice and cool.
I was that kid.
Yeah, but nobody liked you still.
Yeah.
But I feel like he had his, close niche of friends, but he was basically a nerd. And,
yeah.
But at the same time,
But he wasn't, necessarily outcasted.
No, nobody... nobody didn't like him, but he wasn't popular either. So He was just a normal kid. Just a normal guy. So after he went missing, never came back, he just, nothing. They
so
conducted, search parties, nothing.
And he wasn't, into drugs, or he didn't have a habit of, being gone for a long period of time. That's scary.
No. So he just, I'm going on a walk, never came back.
Oh.
They conducted search parties, everything like that. Nobody found any trace of where he had been. Nobody had seen him. Nothing.
Oof.
7 years later...
Oh! Going in the time machine.
Yes. 7 years later, 2 blocks away from his house, Joshua's body was found stuffed inside of a long abandoned cabin's chimney.
Wow, Reddit is coming through.
I know. I was looking through the comments on this Reddit post, and the first comment was, "This is the best thing I have read on Reddit in a long time." And
oh my god. I literally stay up at night, just scrolling. I have so many bookmarked Reddits.
I get mad because I follow a lot of, creepy Reddits because I want to hear true scary stories.
I do, too.
And then they just turn into people making shit up.
Creepypastas.
Yeah, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
But anyways, So Chuck Murphy is the guy who owned the cabin, said that him and his family would try to keep up with the maintenance of the cabin until about 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. So nobody used it, but he would, like, visit frequently to,
try to clean it.
Yeah, and animals would die in there, and he would, like, go to clean them out. And he said that he went one time and it had smelled really bad, and he just assumed it was a dead animal. So he then sold the cabin for it to be demolished because they wanted to build a development there. And he obviously wasn't using it anyways. Mm-hmm. Joshua's death was ruled accidental, and everyone was okay with assuming that he was being a curious teen and had decided to venture into the cabin via the chimney.
No. You throw a rock through a fucking window. You kick a door in. You don't climb, like...
And that's the other weird part, is that, the cabin was easily accessible. And we'll get to something about that later. Woo, okay.
Oh, my God.
His knees were reportedly above his head, so he was, like, in fetal position.
Okay.
And I think, like, above his head was weird to me, but I think he was upside down. Like, linearly from the ground, his knees were above his head.
Okay, as if he had gone in head first.
Yes.
Okay.
The coroner said that he likely died of dehydration or hypothermia within the next couple days of him getting stuck down there. And it was likely that no one could hear him calling for help. Because while it was only 2 blocks away from other households...
It was pretty remote.
It was the only cabin in the woods. He was in a chimney. Like, that was it.
Oh.
I'm gonna say I don't think he died in the chimney. I
could see that.
That's just me, but there were no signs of blunt force trauma or any other marks to conclude that he was murdered.
That sucks.
It gets weirder.
I'm ready. Fuck me up, fam.
So the questionable part is that when his body was found, he was only wearing a thermal shirt and nothing else. He was naked.
Homeboy was in there doing freaky shit if he went in there by himself.
His clothes were found inside the cabin, and the entrance to the fireplace was covered by a large piece of furniture that the owner had put there to prevent animals from crawling up inside. So what?
It wasn't disturbed.
Right. So what? You go into the cabin, take your clothes off, and then go back out and climb up and then jump in head first?
I don't know any kink that exists that's like that.
No.
So.
The owner of the cabin said that he installed a crate on top of the chimney, like the opening hole on the outside, to block out small animals from getting in. And it was said it would be hard for a snake to squeeze through. So even if it was loose, someone had to have put it back on.
Yeah. Right? Oh, chills. Goosebumps.
I'm going to sidestep a little bit. They interviewed his sister Kate, and this devastated her because 2 years before Josh died, her other brother committed suicide.
Oh my God.
So
I can't believe she came out of that and didn't follow suit.
Right. So it was very difficult for her because Josh just went missing, and then they conclude that he was stuffed into a chimney. Basically, I'll get to what they rolled it as, but it just baffles me that she's just so okay with it just being that.
And yeah, I would want more. Yeah, I would want more.
One of Joshua's friends had posted a story on Reddit of his thoughts about the event. Mm-hmm. So he's basically venting on Reddit about, like, this is fucked up. Mm-hmm. So there was this other guy named Andrew. And Andrew was very weird, just like that kind of outcast guy. And the way this Redditor explained it was like, those Ask Reddits that's like, have you ever known a serial killer and didn't know it?
Yeah.
This was Andy. This was that guy. So he had told this, I'm just saying this friend because I don't know his name. Mm-hmm. So you have Josh, who's the victim, Andy, who's the possible murderer, and this friend who's telling the story. So Andy had told this friend that he had been hanging out with Josh near the time before his death. Which was fine. He's just like, hey, I've been hanging out with Josh. It's like, all right. But before Josh's death, Andy had gone to New Mexico and met a guy there. He was gay, I guess, or bisexual or something. And Andy went to go get into cahoots with this guy at his house.
Some canoodling.
Yes. Well, this house, the man he was trying to sleep with was taking care of this older man that lived with him. Mm-hmm. So he's like a caregiver, and I've done prior caregiving. Like, if you live with them, like, they basically just sit in the corner and do their thing, and you can do your thing, and, like, whatever.
Yeah.
So Andy went in, they had sex or whatever, and then this guy went to go take a shower. Mm-hmm. Well, when this guy came out of the shower, the old man was found stabbed to death, and Andy was gone.
Oh, shit.
So the guy called the police. They came and they detained Andy, And when they apprehended him, Andy also confessed to killing a woman in Teos and stuffed her body in a barrel. Uh-huh. So they followed through, went to Teos, and confirmed that there had been a woman found stuffed in a barrel, but they already had a different guy in custody, so they just decided to stick with that different guy.
Can you imagine if they did that every time? Like, if they'd done it with Ted Bundy, if they had done it, like
it was like, yeah, we don't feel like doing all this work, so we're just gonna stick with the guy we already have. Who knows, maybe the guy did it, but either way...
What if he's a completely innocent man?
Yeah, either he's innocent, or somehow Andy knew that this guy did it, so...
And that's questionable in and of itself.
Yeah. Mm. When Josh went missing, this friend that posted the Reddit told police, hey, Josh has been hanging out with Andy, who is basically a known murderer that isn't convicted, so he's still wandering around, and now Josh is gone. And the police did nothing to look into the case any further. They did not call Andy, they did not investigate him, they did not talk to him, they did not ask where he was, nothing. And they didn't return any of this guy's phone calls, and just...
Because they had a preconceived notion about what happened to him, and that was it.
And just didn't make any effort to investigate.
Oh.
So, despite the coroner saying on paper... So, the coroner ruled it accidental. Mm-hmm. He says he somehow got into the chimney, got stuck, and died. But at the end of his report, it says that... the coroner says that he knew his death probably wasn't accidental. It was either suicide or homicide. But basically, he believes the police didn't want to bother with it, so they all just assumed that it was accidental.
That he just decided to get almost butt-ass naked and climb into a chimney for the fun of it.
So then, shortly after all this happened, destruction of the cabin ensued, and Josh's body was cremated.
Gotta be fucking with me.
Yeah, so this friend was very pissed off. He's like, I gave them all the evidence they needed, and they did nothing with it, and they demolished a chimney, and they cremated his body.
Took no evidence because they ruled it immediately an accident. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, never tested him for, toxicology, probably didn't do an autopsy, a full autopsy. Mm-hmm. Oh.
And I don't know if, the family would have to pay for that.
Well, I don't think they pay for it if the police decide to investigate.
Yeah.
If they wanted it done aside from the police investigation. But like you said, the family was just like, yep, it was an accident.
Yeah, the sister, she would not talk about her other brother's suicide. Mm-hmm. They asked her about it, and she was like, nope, do not ask me about that. Mm-hmm. But when they talked about Josh, she was like, it's unfortunate that he got stuck in that chimney. And that's it.
And I wonder if they just could not handle anything else. Because they had lost the one son to suicide. Mm-hmm. And they just... Because I remember when we lost my sister to suicide, there was question at the very beginning before they confirmed it was a suicide, if she had possibly overdosed and somebody had staged it to look like she had killed herself, if somebody had strung her up. And I remember telling my dad, I hope it's not that, because then we're going to be in this for so much longer.
Oh, yeah.
So
you just can't mourn it, then you have to,
Right. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if maybe they just didn't want it to be anything else, because they couldn't handle anything else.
I'm wondering that, too. And that's what I likely think it is. Mm-hmm. My cousin, she lives in Virginia right now, but she lived in New Franklin, Ohio, which is Manchester School District.
I know exactly where it is.
And she, there are a lot of kids that died while she was in school. She knows a lot of people that have died. And I remember there was one girl who, I don't know all the details, but basically they found her hanging from her bunk bed in her room. And Morgan was like, her mom killed her and strung her up on that bed because she would not have killed herself. And how do you hang yourself from a fucking bunk bed?
Right.
And, but they never investigated it. So it was just ruled a suicide.
I hate that. Yeah, I know where New Franklin is because that's where my friend in high school, where her parents got their heads beat in. That's where they died.
Really?
Yeah, New Franklin.
Did you tell me about that?
Yeah, I think briefly. I think I told you that I might cover... Maybe I'll cover that next month. But yeah, her parents were... That's where they lived.
Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. If you don't live in Ohio or you're not familiar with New Franklin, it's just beyond Greene, but not towards Hartville. It's the other way, so it's kind of hick. It's right on the cusp of Portage Lake, so it's the hick version of Portage Lakes.
It's what we call the southern area of Northeast Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio.
And... there's nothing out there. You have, some residential areas. There's a high school.
There's the lake.
There's a reservoir.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
And it's just so weird that, all this shit happens.
And it's a lot of, in the actual developed neighborhoods, it's, very nice houses, like nice area in like the sections that are built up. Crazy.
So it makes me mad that this guy, who was just like probably me or you, went on a walk, probably met up with Andy, and Andy fucking stuffed him in a chimney, or somehow convinced him to climb down the chimney and just left him there to die.
Yeah. And you know what, like, had they even looked at anything, if they hadn't just looked at it and said, oh, he just must have climbed in there, like, got cold and took his clothes off, even though it doesn't fucking make sense that his clothes were inside the cabin and nothing was disturbed.
Well, even then, like, when you're stuffed inside of a cabin, how are you going to take your clothes off? Or stuffed inside a chimney, how are you... Right. Like, there's no wiggle room, you can't...
And you said Andy's gay, so he was found with nothing on but a shirt. Like, you didn't check for rape? You didn't check for sexual assault? You didn't
by the time they found him, he was skeleton.
That makes sense.
It was 7 years, like, his bones
That's
were
right,
bones.
I forgot about that. But at the same time, like... Why wouldn't you maybe jump to that if you, like, if it was brought to your attention that somebody who was known homosexual, known killer, was in contact with this guy and you found him undressed, partially. I don't know. It's just, like, even checking, like, his personal belongings, like, see if there was maybe anything missing, like...
It's even more frustrating that this friend of his, or acquaintance or whatever... was like, you guys need to investigate Andy because he most likely did this and nothing, like, he tried, like, he called the police multiple times. He told people and they were just like, yeah, fuck you, and just demolished everything.
You hear about that all the time, though, and most of the time people, like, finally get, like, I know one case where a woman actually became a private investigator to solve her friend's murder and she ended up doing it, but, like, the fact that they destroyed all the evidence, they destroyed the crime scene, they destroyed the body... what do you do now? You can't do anything with it.
How do you go about becoming a private investigator?
I think about that all the time because I want to be a criminal, not necessarily a criminal profiler. My BA is going to be in forensic psychology and ultimately I want to be a forensic artist. But so I looked at private investigating as something to do in the meantime. You do have to have some form of a degree. It doesn't necessarily have to be in criminal justice or anything like that.
But you're also basically self-employed, right?
You can be, or you can work for an actual company that, like, divvies out private investigators. Some companies will do private investigating. Like, I had an interview recently for a company that does digital forensics, and they look at, like, fraud on money transactions, but you can do that for, like, criminal activity of any kind. Like, you can...
Oh, not necessarily, like, murders, but, like...
Yes. Yeah. But it would be the same thing for if you were becoming a private... When you become your own private investigator, you can take on anything that you want.
Right.
You can do freelance work and all of that stuff. So, you kind of have access to things. I feel like it's like being a reporter and a police officer without 100% benefits of either one of those things.
Well, yeah, but that's the other thing about being a PI. I know a lot of times it's... I watched a video, and it was about this PI, and he is from the point of view of his nephew, and he was like, my uncle used to love being a PI, and he would tell me all these fun stories. Well, one day he just stopped, and then I got older, and I asked him why he stopped being a PI, and finally he told me, well, he said, like, usually... like, PI's jobs are usually around, like, infidelity. So you're basically just following around a husband or a wife and
sneaking around trying to see if they're cheating.
Yeah, basically. Well, he had this one that was heavy into missing persons case, and it was either a cult or the mafia, and they kept threatening his life, and they started threatening his family's life, and then he dropped it.
Like what I think happened to the one PI that they hired in the Stoddard case.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the mafia got him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when there is there's one case that I think I've mentioned before, and we'll talk about it. I'm going to cover it at some point because it's a very, very good case. And there's there's some stuff that's happened recently that I think might have a happy ending in the end not a happy ending, but an ending, because right now it's an open-ended case. So I definitely want to cover it because it's a little timely. But over in Australia, Phoebe Handschuck ends up dying. And I'm not going to give too much away, but they immediately said it was a suicide. And long story short, there is absolutely no way the way that she died could have been done by herself. Somebody else was then they were like, oh, okay, well, it was an accident. And they were like, again, there is no way she could have done this by herself. And they still left it as accidental.
And that blows my mind, too. It's like, I understand if you're like, oh, We don't have enough evidence to really rule, like, same thing with Josh. Like, we don't really have enough evidence to rule, like, if this was murder, so let's just say it's an accident to make it easier for everybody.
Leave it undetermined.
But when you have the evidence...
Yeah.
You're not doing it because you don't want to. You're doing it because someone's paying you not to.
That's exactly
or you're afraid
right.
not to.
Right.
And I always forget, like, the power like that exists in this world.
Yeah. And you think about, you hear those stories, like, in the case when I talked about the Diane Downs, like, the investigators and the prosecutors that are really, really good people, and they want to get to the bottom of a case, and, you know, they get super involved and invested in a case, and they crack it, or maybe even they don't crack it, but they're dedicated to figuring out what went wrong, and they unturn every stone. Or not unturned. They leave no stone unturned. But then you hear about prosecutors and investigators that just don't care. Like, they get handed a case, and they're like, all right, we'll wrap this one up. I don't feel like dealing with this today. And it, like, blows my mind. How could you be in a field that requires so much passion on your part for what you do?
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
I think they might just get a taste of, like, all right, well, I've just done some infidelity cases for the last couple of years, and then they get something that's a little heavier, and they're just like, I don't have time. Like, they just don't think it's important enough for them to, or they may think it's too important for them to handle, and then they just think, oh, I don't.
Yeah. Or if there's maybe not enough...
It's a lot of work, I guess.
Maybe if there's not enough uproar. Like, you know when sometimes you hear when, like, a kid goes missing or any person goes missing and the whole community is like, we gotta find them, and they rally together, or the family is really pushing for more information. If there's not enough pushback, maybe they're like, all right, well,
yeah,
nobody wants any answers from me, so I'm not going to try to give them any.
Right.
That's unfortunate. Where did this happen again? Colorado?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, something is in the water in Colorado.
I know. Whew. All right. I think that's a good place to stop. This was a pretty short episode.
We still did pretty good.
Because I didn't really have a whole lot of information to go off of, but I just thought it was very interesting that, like, not always do cases like this have this international coverage. Like, it's just...
And you think this would, like, body found it in a chimney? Like, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I think it was mostly just, like, local news, and then that was about it.
That's crazy. There's some stuff that's happened here local in Ohio, though, that is not national news, and I'm like, I don't understand how that was not on the news, but we'll cover it all, folks.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram at Crime in the Coconut. That's also our Gmail name. If you want to send us cases or theories or experiences, things like that.
Yep.
Or money.
Money. We'll get a Patreon if we get enough people to listen to us. I can promise you that. We're desperate.
All right. Well, yeah, I think it's a good place to end.
Yep, we're going to talk about ghosts some more. Bye, guys.
Bye. Maybe do a little seance.